It's me, Rebecca, the Booknester, and I am here because I am jumping on a bandwagon. At least I'm hoping to. Uh, what I'm talking about is using distressed inks in our coloring books. Now, this is nothing I've created, nothing I've come up with. This is not an original idea. I am totally inspired by a new channel I've been watching. Her name is ZucchiniKitty. That's the name of the channel. I'll definitely put the information down below because she's fabulous. And I have been looking for something like this for a while. So I've been adverse to wanting to have used pastels in my books. I like the more permanent. So I like my Derwent Inktense pens better than probably even my, not pens, I'm sorry, pencils, better than my watercolor pencils. But yet I like that look that, that gives. So this is nothing against any of those type of uses. What it is I'm not comfortable with them. But I also know that if I didn't try things, I would not be as far along as I am. And I want to use this as an opportunity to tell you, you need to go out there and watch these wonderful individuals. So all I'm doing today is going to show you my idea for this page. I've been wanting to put a background on this page since I finished it. It's not spectacular enough for me. This is the introduction of Inky, and I want to make sure that he's being seen. And I finished him. I really like how he looks. I'm enjoying these colors. It's kind of a break from some of the other colors I've been using in the book, so that's been really fun. And now I saw this technique and I thought, I want to do that for my Inky page. So again, do not take this as even a tutorial. This is an experiment that we are doing together. I'm praying this works. I'm very nervous because, of course, you mess up this page and it's messed up. But, so many things in coloring, what we consider as a mess up, we can fix in some way. So I'm going to do this, but this is a multi-step process. Here are some of the materials that we'll be using. So the first thing I'm going to introduce is right here is Jim Holtz, his distressed inks. Now I bought these in sets. They were much cheaper in sets than they are necessarily individual, because a lot of times the sets go on sale. I know Michaels has a few, and I know you get your 40% and all of your coupons and everything. You guys are wonderful about all that. But I went ahead and ordered these. These came off of Amazon for me. I don't have a Michaels near me, or I don't even think there's a, well, there is a Michaels about an hour away. And the Michaels that I've gone to in the city, even in New York City, have been hit and miss about whether they really have much of this material. I don't know what's going on with Michaels. I don't know what the plan is. So these are distressed inks. They're very teeny tiny, as you can see, but I like that because they're easy to store. And then these are going to be the applicators for the ink. So these are like sponges, but let me show you first. The inks are really nice because one thing I like about them, excuse me, is that they stack and they store really nicely. So if I want to keep these three together, because this is what I'm working on, I want to use these three inks in Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, then they store really nicely. These work with all the applicators because they have a little bit of Velcro on the end. And let me show you the other thing that's great about these little cubes. So you can see the little cube, you turn him over, and that's where I store the little applicator. So I was really excited because all I have to do is push in and my applicator's on there. So it's a great little place to store. And any excess ink that I have stays down in here, and I can actually see the color a little bit better if I wanted to. They are easy to take off, very, very easy, as you can see, and put back on. Oops, well, I say that. You just slide them on and off. And then the messiest part for me, which you can see, I've been playing with inks, is taking them off and putting them. Now, I don't store them that way up because that's ink on there. Instead, I turn it that way. And, I do try to clean, but I get excited. So that's where those stay, and then they clip together like that. So there you go. So that's our inks. That's our applicators. The other thing that we're going to need is, I like to use a pencil. And we're going to need, you're going to hear it, some tracing paper. And what I've done here is I've just used, sorry, I'm not going to get this in full shot, It's Blick tracing paper, 9 by 12. When I was at Blick the other day, I was very excited to see that they, that I was needing tracing paper, bang, they had it. Of course, they're going to. And I just got their generic. So nothing special. You could get tracing paper anywhere. In fact, I think even Walmart, Staples, all those places are going to have tracing paper. And all tracing paper is a very lightweight paper. So I like it in the pad because then it's easy for me to find it and to take it over. To find it, and I like it in the pad because it keeps it where I can keep up with it, which is always important. And then the other thing we're going to need is transfer paper. So, sorry, I hit the camera. Arteza is what I've used. It was something I could find easily on Amazon. Again, the transfer, the graphite paper, whatever you want to call it. In the old days, this was the carbon copy. This is where the phrase "you're a carbon copy of your mother" or whatever came from, and it's a transfer paper. You can get this again at any art store. You can get it online. I got mine through Amazon at the time. It's a 9 by 13 inch. I don't remember any of the prices. I'm sure you can go out and find some different prices. This one has 60 sheets in it. And the thing is it's multi-use. I mean, you don't use it just once and then throw it away. So it's going to look like this. You can see I've already got some drawings on it. I've used this thing 5 or 6 times this page already. So that right there is your basic list of what we're going to need. Oh, and then in my case, because I took this technique off of ZucchiniKitty, or from her, or she taught me, however she passed on her knowledge, she used to make a cutout, and that's the idea. We're going to use all of this to make a cutout like this. Now this one actually goes to a different butterfly because I haven't done Inky's yet. So this is Inky's friend, I believe. There he is, or she. There we go. That's just a cutout. Now I had to fussy cut. I used my good old handy dandy scissors. She used a Cricut. I don't have a Cricut cutter or any of those, but she did, and she used it for her video. Now, I'm going to try to link her video down below so that you can easily get to it. I'm not sure if I can, so I'm going to try to link it down below so that you can see where this kind of inspiration came from. Because again, this is not anything that I've come up with, but most everything I do is not original. It's just taking somebody else's idea and using it in a different way. So the whole point is to make out this cutout. So let's get started with that because we have to have that to begin with. So there we go. So we're going to lay the tracing paper. So we start with the tracing paper. I like using a pencil because I like that I can make a little bit of a thicker line with the pencil. So I'm going to take my pencil, and all I'm doing is outlining because this is going to be an outline cut eventually, as I showed you with the other butterfly. So I'm just going to go around the edges here.
All right.
Now, I have gone ahead and I do the antenna. The antenna is going to be a real fussy cut and might be thicker than actually how it is here on the page. I just think that a butterfly without its antenna is not really a butterfly. It just looks like a weird flying bug. It's amazing how much the antenna adds to my identity or identifying of a butterfly. So I do go ahead and trace around it a bit, knowing that I'm probably going to need, when I do my fussy cut. So fussy cutting, for anybody who's not in scrapbooking and things like that, it just means when you have to cut around real fiddly bits. And I have to tell you, these scissors that I'm going to be using are the only ones I can really do it with. If I have a longer, more generic type of scissors, I'm not as good at it. But again, think about it. This is me applying it to a butterfly. We can apply it to a lot of things. It could be a flower, it can be whatever, to really create kind of these patterns. So again, we're going for that. And see, I was able to get some fussy cutting done on that. You can see how thin they are. But it's a butterfly if it has antennas. All right, so if we take it, you can see there is the pattern that we're going to use. Now, let me show you what else I've done. So, in an effort for you to see, so there's the trace butterfly that we just did. So let me show you what else I've done. So I have done the very same thing, but then I went and found all my little Inkies in the book, and I've traced around a bunch of different sizes. So if I wanted to create little, I don't know, little cutouts of the different size butterflies, I already have them here on my tracing paper. So again, this is his friend, so it's a little bit bigger. But I may not want just one this size. I want one this size to do what I'm thinking of doing a round Inky as a background, and then these I might want later on in different places in the book. Again, giving that cohesiveness throughout the book, if this works. If it doesn't, little butterflies will never see life. Oh, sounds horrible, doesn't it? So let's go back to what we were doing. We just did him. We are now going to go get the transfer paper. Graphite, carbon copy. If anybody's as old as I am, you remember some of the triplicate forms where you had a yellow, a pink, and a white, and then it had this in between them. This stuff is what made those extra copies. Anyway, triplicate forms is what these used to be. But for those of you who aren't of that age, all we need to do is you need to find the shinier side. So let me show you. So this is the shiny side. Let's see if this looks different. Yeah, it looks different. See? So I need to turn it over, and I'm going to put it on my, and in fact, I like to use my clipboard for this because it holds everything together. So you're making a sandwich. So we're making a sandwich. So layer number one is cardstock. Now I use cardstock because I'm going to use these as cutouts. I want them to have a little bit of oomph. I want them to be able, if I just did it on paper, it would work one time and that's it. Again, this might be something I want to use throughout the book. So there's two thoughts here I even thought about is I could go ahead and laminate this, not this, sorry. Once I get it drawn on, I could laminate this even, and then it'll hold a rigidity and make it even stronger. Or I can just leave it as the cardstock. So this is just standard cardstock. It fits through, it goes through my HP. It is not really heavy. You can do as heavy as you want. This is the only thing I had at the house, so that's why it's done. So we're going to do, so that's layer number one. Clip it on. Then we're going to take, not the shiny part, okay, we're going to flip it over. And you can see I've already done this once. Like I said, I've used this piece of paper probably 6 times now for various different things. I use it a lot in my work. All right, so there's layer number 2. And then finally is our layer we just made, which is our tracing paper. So again, you've got cardstock at the bottom, you've got your graphite, so there we go. So again, you have your cardstock at the bottom, you have your transfer paper with the shiny part down, and then you put your tracing paper. Now what am I going to do? I am simply going to go over this line, and what it's going to do is transfer this picture, or this drawing in essence, onto my cardstock, hopefully. Something I just noticed is this is off camera, so let me get it up there a little bit more so you can see the whole thing. And here we go. So again, we're just going all the way around. I do like using my pencil a lot on these. It transfers a dark enough line. And remember, all I'm doing is I'm going to be cutting around the edges. So I'm doing a cutout. I have used this same technique to transfer pictures from a coloring book I really liked into my gardening journal too. And when I do it there, because I'm probably going to color the picture in my gardening journal, I simply go ahead and do it a little bit lighter. But you will see that the graphite's not really, the graphite transfer sheet does not make it incredibly dark. So that's kind of good. The other thing you have to be aware of is don't lose your place. Because when you pick it up, you're going to see that if you had missed a spot, it's not going to have transferred. It doesn't just magically do that. So, and I will check it before I take everything out anyway. So again, I really like the antenna. It just tells me it's a butterfly. I'm going to go ahead and color in these a little bit because again, remember I'm going to try to fussy cut around these, so we'll see. And you know, it won't be an exact, but it does, I'm not a cricket. But I'm not looking for exact because this is going to be kind of hidden when we get done. All right, so hopefully I've went over everything dark enough. But before taking off your clipboard and your layers, because you do want to kind of neat up, I check, and you can see there it is. I'm just checking on this side. There it is, and yeah. So now I just take it off. Ah, earthquake. Sorry about that. So there I just take it off, and we've got our transferred butterfly. Easy peasy Jeffrey, right? Okay. Now comes the not so easy part. Well, it is still. This is going to be the cutting out part. I'm probably going to do this on camera just because I don't think I can hold it where I need to get it around. But again, just to let you know, I'll be using, oh God, what are these? These are like a something B scissors. Got them at Michael's. They are really wonderful for getting into little pieces. Let's see. Yeah, there's not a name on this. And it does come, EK Success, it looks like. It's a brand name. It comes with a little thing to cover the blade when I'm not using it. It's just in my drawer and I don't want to go get it. I'm being lazy. Sorry. All right, so we're going to cut. All right. By the miracles of TV, there is Inky as a shadow, a little bit of a cutout. All right, so it did okay on the antenna, but again, they're probably thicker than how they were drawn. So I have to say that Inky's antenna was a lot more difficult to do than his friend or her friend, whatever. But one thing I did want to go ahead and show you, and as I cut this out, I realized, so at some point I may want to do more of like a relief. In other words, where I want to color in and leave this blank, kind of a reverse cutout. So trying to take some of these, because that might be kind of a neat little thing to have in the background. It's a neat little shape. I was able to get at least one wing and one side of the butterfly. So if I had to, I guess, because butterflies are really neat that way, you just flip it over and I could use the other side to kind of complete a butterfly. So I'm going to keep a hold of that. I hope I remember to. It kind of looks like garbage, so I might throw it away. Oh, best laid plans, right? Okay, so there we go. That is what we're trying to finish up with. Now, to take that away, I want to show you what my play has been. So the idea is, so the play idea is this is kind of what you end up with, all right, around the edges. So I'm going to see if I can do that. Now, again, this was using my 3 distressed inks, and my application tool. So we're going to give this a try, and we're going to do it in Inky, and I really hope this works out. But, you know, as with any new technique, I really suggest that you always try it first. So let's see what's going to happen. Now, it will not be that with the white in the middle, but that's how I'm going to get. All right. Oh, actually, I can take out the clipboard. My handy-dandy clipboard is not needed. All right. So here we're going to go. The idea being, go, and you know what? I'm going to cover that and then go all the way around. So let me make sure I'm all set up for that first. So again, just to let you know with these color-wise that I am using Salty Ocean, Mustard Seed, and oh, Mowed Lawn. Okay. Now let me show you how I set that up. By set up, it is simply what I like to do to make sure that I have them easily and accessible. Let's see if we can. I'm going to move Inky over and just kind of show you. So off to the side, what I will have is I take each one of them and I take the little sponge. All right, so we take off the lid, and we're probably going to start with green. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on like I'm supposed to, and I'll have that. All right. So what I like to do, because I might be changing in between them, is I want to make sure that I have a sponge I can easily get to. So a lot of times what I'll do is put them right underneath each other. I say a lot of times, actually this is what I just did a little while ago when I was practicing and trying to figure out how I was going to do this. Make it sound like I've been doing this for years, and I haven't. All right, so there you go. Now they need to be this way so that I can pick them up easily. And when I get done, here, I'll just show you what I'll do, because I can tell the colors if I want. I'll just put that there. So all right. So if I set it up like that, it makes it a little bit easier for me to just come in, take my applicator, and start with the green, let's say. So now this is the hard part, and you can, I think there's some type of masking tape that I could probably use that would hold this in place, and you know, but just be careful with it, that it doesn't move. And what I'm going to do, let me see if we can get this in the shot. All right, I'm going to move this over. Sorry, guys. All right, I'm panned out as far as I can and still get in the shot. What I'm going to do is take the green. You do a little bit of pouncing. And as with everything with me, I always start out really, really light. I mean, and I ink it up, ink up the little applicator. But I start really light because, and I start in here. So we start pouncing from here out. And I do it really light and start building it up. And I am pouncing directly down on it. I don't know if you can see that. It is a straight up and down in this case. Now, ZucchiniKitty does a little bit different in that she kind of pulls it. I'm not there yet. I like the pouncing a little bit more, and then I will start trying to build up and do a little bit of a, because I'm trying to make an outline. And I'm just really hesitant because that's me. Always nervous. All right, so we're just building it up a little bit. I think I want it a little bit darker. Start in here to then. Now she did this to make clouds and a beautiful like sunset scene. It was really pretty. but I thought this might work. And I don't want it to be really like half an inch all the way around or whatever. I do want it to kind of be irregular, so we're going to come out. Now what I like about these inks, besides the fact that they are permanent, and they won't move, and I don't have to fix them as I would a pastel, they give that pastel look. And keep just doing this for quite a while, just to build up that darker color, especially closer to the butterfly itself, that edging. So it's gonna, because that's kind of how all my borders kind of. So this is saving me from having to do my 5, 6, 7, 8 layers of green that I normally do. And then when I get finished over here, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all my green around. I'm going to go ahead and move these over, because they'll be offshot. You guys won't be able to see that, but just know that that's the setup that I'm using. And then I'm just going to do the green in various places around. Make sure it lines up. Now up here with the, and I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to do a direct up and down pounce up on those antenna. Now I'm not so worried about the antenna because they're black anyway, so the color is not going to be a problem, so to speak, if I go over it with my ink. So I'll show you a little bit. I'm just randomly putting them places. My green. I'm not trying to make it even all the way around or on the same, mirror image. I'm not that worried about it. I want just kind of the randomness. As you see there, I've actually put the blue back over the green, and that's kind of to mirror my other page. If you look over here, you can kind of see it all starts blending together, and that's what I'm trying to make these two pages kind of mirror together and look cohesive, and because it is a page you open up and it is the story, so that's part of it. I have no idea what this is going to look like until I pick it up, and I could have just totally ruined this page. But we can fix most things in some way or another, and it might lead me to something even more exciting. So who knows? Do this, but the good news is I can take it off, take a look at it. If I wanted to make anything intense, I could too. But here comes the grand reveal. Huh. Oh, see, so like right there around the antenna, I can now go back in and pounce over that. But I'm liking that as a start for this page. And I've not changed the colors of where I've already colored. So you could do this one of two ways. You could either just do it without this cutout. You could do it before you color the page and pounce all around it, and then incorporate those colors into your artwork, because these are really, they're still smooth. They don't change the tooth of the paper. So like my watercolors can feel a little grainy if I have to gesso it so it doesn't go through to the other side, because this whole book has another page or pictures on the other side. So if I felt like I needed to gesso it to use it with different paints, it changes the texture. This doesn't, and so you would be able to just go right over it. It might dictate the colors you would do. So instead of being really straightforward with this all being kind of a light green, if I did the blue here, this would have to be kind of a blue. Or you could do it in one color. Now again, I'm trying to pick up the colors. Let's see if I can do this without making a total mess from the other page. Bring that in just a little bit. All right, so I am trying to, definitely, see if I can bring that in a little bit more, match these colors here, right there, with these colors over here along the side. And I think I did a pretty good job, actually. I'm quite, now that I look at it a little closer, there's more yellow over here than there, but that's kind of the idea. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of the page. I just wanted to show you this one little thing. And what I'll do is I'll finish the page and then show you what I decided to do. This is where I'm thinking maybe to do the smaller ones, the smaller butterflies, and do them around the page. And so I'd pounce on them, and then they would leave like a white spot. And then later, if I wanted to put, to color it in, I could, but it would change the shape of that, and you might see them in recess. So, or what I might do is take and pounce all the way around and do this more like you would pastels, but I'm not 100% sure, but I did want to show you. So one of the reasons I'm not so worried about my antenna, I like having them, but if in this case, let's see if we can bring it in even better. Okay, if you look, you can see the white around the edge there. So what I can do is take, in this case, take some of my yellow and just pounce right over that. It's not going to change that black. And if it did, even then I could just go back over it with some black. Black paint. Not paint, sorry, black, like with a marker or a pen. And then I could do this, like I said, over the whole page if I wanted to. little bit of a pretty strong line. I don't know if I can get that completely out of there, but I will definitely try. Now I'm not going back onto the butterfly because I don't want to color it with my inks. This one little spot I am going to go ahead and use the yellow because a little bit, and this is just, you know, hey, this is the first time I've ever done it, so actually I can do the yellow right there because that's not going to mess with the gold too much. So there you go. So I'm going to go and play with it for a little while and see what the background ends up being, and then I'll come back and show you what I've decided to do. I hope you found this interesting. I think it's a really neat little tool. There's a lot of things we can do with this for backgrounds, and you know, I'm hoping that if I make this page work and if I'm comfortable with it, I will be able to incorporate it throughout the book, and again, trying to get that cohesiveness. So I said I would come back whenever I kind of figured out what I was going to do, finishing up this background, and I'm pretty happy with it, and you might be interested because this continues on with kind of what we were doing with the cutouts. So just to let you know, so one of the things I did was go through the book. Now, I did this earlier, and I can keep this template, and like I was showing you before, I found a bunch of different sized Inkies throughout the book. And so I went ahead and copied them with the idea that I then would go get the transfer paper and do my little making of cutouts. Now, something I thought about, and this is really simple. So just to let you know too, if you have a copier at home, you would not even need to do the tracing paper portion. And it's so funny because as I was working on this page, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a simple thing. Why am I making it complicated for those of you? Because most people do have, you know, the all-in-ones, and so they're going to have a copier at home. I didn't. Okay. So I have decided what I want to do for the entire page. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's working pretty well. It is, and so I'm going to show you just a couple steps of me doing it for you to get kind of the idea, and then we'll see the complete finished page. But all you're going to do is you're going to take those smaller versions that I did, and I made, if you look here, little cutouts. Yep, more fussy cutting while you guys were gone, but it wasn't too difficult. And that way I can use different size ones on the page. I could have just done one, but I like the different sizes. I think that adds to it a little bit. And it turned out, and doing the different sizes and being able to do them like this, I can flip them around. So this is kind of ends up looking a little bit like, I don't know how you say it, where you have those little balls kind of throughout the throughout your back page. I've done it on a couple of my pages, and it kind of has that same look. It's kind of neat. So I'm going to start with the big one because it's just easier. The other thing is I have added to my collection here of supplies. So we're still using our applicators that I got from Ranger or from Tim Holtz, and then there's also these smaller ones here. And by the way, I have like ink all over my hands, so these smaller applicators, and they're really working really well. And that's just another one. It's just a little stick, and it's funny because it's got the little foam bits on it. The foams aren't even straight on that little dowel, but I'm sure if you had some way of cutting out foam yourself, it would work. But these foam applicators work really well, and I kind of just assign a color. So that would be my green tip, and that would be my yellow tip. Oh, there you go. That would be my yellow tip. So let's just go ahead and get started. So those little ones have helped, especially with my really small butterfly that I did. So I've got the same colors as I had before. And I've got, so we can start, we're going to start this one with the yellow. Right about, and then I just kind of play with it. So let me push him up. Oh, I'll take those guys off so I don't knock them onto the floor, because that'd be a pain. So let's see. Yeah, and I'm going to start with the yellow with him. And all I'm doing is pouncing and loading up my applicator, and then you have to do the old hold really steady, pouncing straight up and down. Again, the middle is usually a better place to hold this little guy. And one of the things is I don't want just a round ball, so I do go out a bit and kind of blend them in. So again, I'm sure this is very much like how people use pastels, but like I said, this adds no texture whatsoever, and I like that to my page. All right. I'm just going to keep pouncing. This is all using just the yellow for right now. Now I'm going to take my smaller one because I just want a hint of green, the smaller one, and kind of just get in there and make that a little bit heavier than it was. Okay, and now I'm going to darken up my yellow because that is one thing. A darker yellow right on this is going to make it pop a little bit more, and I'll show you what it will allow me to do. So doing it a little bit more, a little darker, going up. Now for me to do this background, I don't think I could have made it ever look quite like it is, and I love the look of it if I did it with just my pencils. I might at some point try it using a kind of a stencil or whatever. And that's the thing, you could use stencils on this as well that are already pre-cut, but this is kind of neat because it's from the book. At least that's the way I feel about it. And as you notice, none of them really got the antennas. There was no way I was getting the antennas, that's for sure. Now be careful about pouncing on these too much, these littler ones, because they do really make circles unless you're going to build it out. And I do try to do that so that I don't have just my little circles. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a bit of color at the top because I want that to transition. It shouldn't all be just yellow. I'm trying to do this really kind of light to begin with. I do it really light, as with most of my stuff, because I'm a little bit hesitant. Just being honest. This was quite a leap for me to do, and I've literally been thinking about it for over a week. And slowly getting the materials, and then decided that I would film it here. All right, so when we pull it, that's what happens. So you get this shade. Now that is a little stark. I kind of don't want it to be. I'm kind of thinking of this. This reminds me of like when you look up at the sky and you've got some clouds, but really thin clouds. You've got sun coming through, and then things kind of fly over. Now that would normally be a darker one. This is like the reverse. It's a shadow, but it's a different one. But I think this is a little too bright. But one thing I do want to do, because I ended up, all right, so you can put him back in, and I'm going to take the green and pounce a bit over here to darken him up just a little bit with the green. And I think, so one of the things is that you want the outlines to be dark enough so that you see it. And then I'm going to, because you're going to go and put ink over it a little bit. I just wanted to, this didn't seem. Boy. All right, that's a little bit better. So it's a little bit darker. And then what I'm going to do is very lightly come in and start continuing the color from this dark to the light in. And this will dull it down a little bit, but you'll still see the outline. It'll still give you the impression that it's there, but it's maybe not as bright. Now, also, this wasn't colored. This is, you know, the color of the page, and so it was a blank part of the paper when I started this. So I still have a little bit, but it's not as bright. I'll do it over here with the yellow. See if I can do it. Just pouncing. I'm kind of just using the edge right now, just tilting it a little bit because I don't want a big circle blob. I like that term. That was a very technical term. All right. Take off my little foam, switch it out. And here we're going to do a little green in there. Now again, try not to do it too heavy. It kind of come from the inside out, or outside in is kind of what I do, because it can be darker on the outside, and we've already made it a little bit darker. And there you go. So that's kind of like making almost a watermark impression. And I really like the look of it because the story, again, hopefully I'm not letting too much out of the bag. The story sits there and talks about having, you know, ends up finding a lot of other butterflies at some point. So now I'm going to continue on and do this whole page, the finish of the page. I will take a picture of the finished project, or bring it back, and hopefully I can show you the finished project. It's going to be a little hard because getting it all into shot. But that's basically what I'm doing. I'm just covering and then pounding and going around. So I'm going to do a little bit, and then so you can see it one or two more times, and then after that I'll finish up the page and we'll come back. Them off. And so now you have what looks like it's going off the page, and that's kind of, you know, that's going to make it look more like it's a random pattern and less of like a plan. Now if you only did them in here, that's different, but since I do have them going across the page, which you'll see whenever I get finished, it kind of lends itself to that. So now I'm going to go ahead and come in with my yellow. So there is the finished page, and I'm pretty darn happy with it. And again, to do any type of a background like that would have taken me so long. And this was a lot of fun switching between the colors and everything else. Uh, and it's just a neat little illusion and a different way to do a background than what I've seen. Again, it kind of looks like, I think it's bokeh or whatever. It kind of looks like that, but not that in this case. And then what I also did, and I'm hoping you can see, I'm going to bring it over just a little bit more. I went ahead and took my cutout and laid it across like that and did my yellow around it. And so there's a little bit of a faint, like when you look at it, that there's a butterfly on this, that it's Inky that came up off of, because remember he rises up off of his paper, and so maybe there would have been a stain there on the paper where he would have been, because the sunlight and all that, you know, kind of stains in for older. So I really like the way that looks. I think I'm finished with this page. I have thought about putting a couple little extra Posca dots here and there, but I really think I'm really happy with it. And again, I hope this is something that, you know, if you have your distressed inks and, you know, something to do with them in your books, here's an idea. Again, this is not an original idea as far as using the distressed inks in the coloring book and in a similar manner. I got the idea from ZucchiniKitty, and she is fabulous. She has a lot of great tutorials and stuff that I'll be playing around with, you know, just adding a little bit to my repertoire. But so happy this has worked out. Like I said, I could really see me doing this in a lot of different places, not only in this book, but in other books, and kind of changing it up. So a lot of fun, very interesting. All right, so I think that that's about it. And thank you so much if you're watching, and maybe you can let me know, show me on Instagram or the different, what you might have done if you did something similar to this. Again, it doesn't have to be in Inky and the Ivy. Ivy, I always do that, put Inky first. Ivy and the Inky butterfly, it can be in anything. And thank you so much for watching. I am toying with the possibility of trying to do live streaming at some point, but I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, especially once I start working. It might get really difficult, but hopefully I'll still be able to make a few more of these videos and spend some more time with you. And again, I love seeing what everybody's doing. If you have anybody you suggest for me to watch for any new techniques and things, that's great. If you're new to the coloring world, as far as ColorTube, please feel free to let me know that down below. I'd love to see your channels, and I'd love to see what's going on. I think there's been a lot of people who have added in the last 6 months, a lot of exciting things going on, and I'd love to be able to go out there and watch and see what you're doing and what you're coloring on. So as I always say, keep coloring those pages, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.